I'm well. How are you?
Good. I'm trying to get a good. Is this
Okay.
window? Give it a glare.
You're fine.
Okay.
Oh, this is so cool.
Hi, gorgeous.
How are you?
Good. Isn't Zoom amazing?
It is. Like, this is so convenient.
I just got out of a previous session and jumped right in here. Then I can go into another session. Like it just makes it so much more flexible when your time is a little bit limited.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm
Oh, wow.
excited, ma'am.
Oh, I'm so excited to be connecting with you once more. Um,
Yes.
this time specifically to feature you on my Mama to Mama blog. And I absolutely want us to collaborate on the podcast that I'm launching as well, and even like future community events. Like last week, I was just like, what if we could bring What Is Your Yes costing you to mamas in the community, and, just really putting an emphasis on their self-care.
Yeah.
So,
I've been thinking about some different things as well, kind of in line. I've been starting to look into this book. Have you heard of this book called Surviving Mama?
no.
So it's called Surviving Mama. I actually can show it to you real quick.
Okay.
Are we recording already?
Yeah.
Oh,
And so does it record video and audio? I don't know if the free subscription lets you do video too.
what I've had a few meetings on Zoom before, but I've never used it personally. Like I did now, I just accepted it and went into it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I do all of my sessions in a different platform. It's not complicated, but like you got to have a client profile and all those kind of things. So
Gotcha.
I would assume that it's recording audio too.
Cool.
But this is the book. It's Surviving Mama: Overcoming Strained Mother-Daughter Relationships.
Ooh.
It's the adult daughter's guide, and so it has like kind of it's reading, but then it has like question prompts that you can kind of like work through and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have a lot of clients who don't have healthy relationships with their mom, and
Mm.
that brings up a lot of things as they are going into adulthood or becoming mothers and things like that. So yeah, just
Wow.
had a few ideas around how to service that population a little bit more.
Oh, wow. So without going into um people's personal journeys and things that they discuss with you privately, what tends to be some of the bigger strains on those relationships? Like, is there a theme that you've observed or?
Mm-hmm. Definitely moms who have contributed to traumatic experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely a little bit of neglect there. When there's a history of any type of drug or substance abuse and kind of what that does to the family system.
Mm-hmm.
Narcissistic moms is a big one. When mom doesn't have those qualities that we have been taught what a mother is, it's
Mm-hmm.
heavy attachment and this nurturing and all those kind of things. When that's not present for me, and my mom doesn't hug me, my mom doesn't embrace me, my mom has never told me she loves me,
Mm-hmm.
can be some huge themes that
Wow.
happen. Yeah.
And so the purpose of Mama to Mama is to connect mothers, specifically mothers of color, to resources that would help them more effectively advocate for their children in K through 12 spaces.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that being the case, I want to know from you just a little bit about your own experiences in navigating K through 12 schools as a student.
As a student.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm from Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
I came up in the Chicago Public Schools, so CPS system, K through 12, and it was pretty interesting, pretty different. And so I went to the neighborhood elementary school, which was 2 blocks. We walked to school
Mm-hmm.
every day. And I always did well academically in school. And so because of that, and because I wasn't a child that caused many problems, I had a lot of teachers that were very supportive. And
Mhm.
so a lot of opportunities and things came to me to, to speak at the different presentations that we were doing and being a spelling bee and, all those kind of things. So I feel like showing up and doing well was rewarded for
Mhm.
me throughout school. I feel like my needs were adequately met. And I feel like there was this community within the school system that encouraged students and opened up other opportunities as well.
Mhm.
So I say that because I went to a middle school that wasn't in my neighborhood. And
Mhm.
it was definitely a little bit more of a specialized school that was helpful for me. And then I tested into my high school. I went to a magnet high school.
Mhm.
It wasn't like a private school, but kind of like the charter kind of, magnet.
Yeah.
Um, and so I navigated it fairly easily, honestly. It's because I was taught very early on that, when you come from the hood and there's not many resources, I'm from the south side of Chicago, education is your ticket out.
Mhm.
And that was something that I was told going to school was my job. That was what I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
I was supposed to do well at that. So I think I had a really good experience K through 12. And definitely going to that magnet high school gave me that preparation, that college prep that
Mhm.
I really needed. It exposed me to diversity
Mhm.
um, as well that I hadn't really seen before then.
Yeah.
Uh, it really prepared me for what college and like real life actually looked like.
Yeah. And so just out of curiosity, what was the first off the demographic like student makeup
Hmm.
of your schools throughout that experience and then the demographic makeup of your teachers during that time?
Oh yeah. So elementary was probably 99% black for
Mhm.
the students. And I would say probably 70% black teachers, 30% white in elementary.
Mhm.
In middle school, I would say it started to see a little bit more diversity, so more, black and brown as well as Caucasian. And so middle school, I would say maybe 80%
Mhm.
black students, probably more, again, more black teachers versus other ethnicities. High school is when I saw more of a shift. I would say majority Caucasian or other ethnicities other than Black teachers. And the diversity was very strong in my high school. And so, although it was still fairly majority Black, not by as high percentage as it was before. And
Yeah.
so there was, not only Caucasian, but, you know, all other. I mean, my middle school was a real conglomerate of a huge, it's like the city kind of
Mhm.
in the school, and so it wasn't just black and white. It was Hispanic, it was Indian, it was African, and it just a lot of the Asian, a lot of different
Yeah.
ethnicities. Yeah.
Cool. And so the message about education being the ticket out, was that, kind of a unified message across home and school, or was it touted in one place more than the other?
Everywhere. Yeah, that was everywhere. You do hard, you do well, you make good grades, you show up, you do the best that you can because that was your ticket to get into a good college, and
Yeah.
that's what opens up the rest of life for you.
Yeah. So what was the most valuable resource you say you had access to during your K through 12 schooling? Whether that be something practical and concrete or a person
Hmm.
that that helped you along the way.
I would say family first
Mm-hmm.
because I think that's where I really got my foundation of having to really put my all, like it wasn't acceptable really to do anything differently.
Mhm.
You had to go to school and get good grades. I remember, it's so funny. I was talking about this with somebody else. Aaliyah was one of my favorite artists. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
posters up, everything. And I remember the morning, because she passed like in the wee hours of the morning, and
Uh-huh.
was woken up for school. I was devastated. I wanted to stay home. I'm like, I'm grieving.
Yeah.
My granny was like, "You better take your butt to school." Like, there were no acceptable reasons if you weren't on your deathbed not to go to school.
Yeah.
Snow might be up to your knees, you going to school and you walking to school.
Right.
It was, you go to school was the thing. So I think Family First laid that foundation of how important it was to show up and perform.
Mhm.
From there, definitely, I mean, I had a band of just really good teachers. I feel like I was very fortunate to have teachers that were invested and passionate about what they did,
Yeah.
and really supported students just greatly. So I would say teachers after that. But then when I got into high school, I became a member of 100 Black Men of Chicago.
Mhm.
They introduced and allowed girls to be a part of one of the cohorts that I was going to at the time. And so that's when I first became really aware of mentorship. And I
Mhm.
gained my first mentor. And I think it was really, really life changing, because college was something that I knew I was supposed to get to and do, but nobody in my family had done it. And
Mhm.
so it was kind of like, I'm shooting for this thing, I'm working hard for this thing, but I need somebody to give me like an inside view of what this looks like.
Yeah.
I think that's when I first got that, when I was in high school, and gained some mentors that had been, gotten advanced degrees and things like that. And it became a lot clearer, and, doing college tours and stuff like that. It's like, oh, well, like, this is thing that I'm shooting for. And this is
Yeah.
really how it's going to be beneficial, just opposed to like, I know I'm supposed to be doing that. And it's kind of like not too clear,
Yeah.
on what that even means.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so shifting gears a little bit to you being a parent now.
Hmm.
First of all, what would you say was a piece of the most valuable parenting advice you got from your own mother? Like, you had to pick one piece of advice. Woo!
Oh,
Or mother figures.
yeah. Um, that's a hard one.
Yeah.
That's a really hard one. A piece of parenting advice. I think I've heard a lot of just the sacrifice that comes
Mhm.
with parenting. To really invest in my children, that means that I'm gonna have to give up something in some area or some way.
Mhm.
So I don't I don't know. I really feel like with parenting, I've had to do a lot of, and not just alone, just like me and my husband together. We've done a lot of like figuring out what we wanted together, and
Mhm.
doing that and learning along the way.
Yeah.
I can't necessarily say that I even had much parenting advice from my own mom. So I wasn't raised by my birth mother. We have a great relationship right now, but I wasn't
Mhm.
raised by her. And we have a joke that I'm sometimes the mom and she's sometimes the daughter, because that's just how it goes. And then when I had my oldest child, my parental figures that did raise me, there wasn't always this feeling of excitement and steering, because I had a child young and out of wedlock and all of those things. So
Mhm.
I kind of feel like I picked up the pieces with my husband and my some other just kind of influential figures like my mother-in-law and things like that, and just, it was, you do what you have to do for your children, and it's okay to do that the way that you see fit. I would.
Mhm. Cool. So Then what has your parenting experience been like? So tell me, what's the age range of your kids?
Mm-hmm.
And then what has your experience been like in advocating for them in schools?
Yeah. So my oldest is 10.
Mm-hmm.
I had her my freshman year of college. And so we say that she's been to college already. She spent her first year of life on a college campus.
Mm-hmm.
My middle child, my son, is 5, and so he's just graduating to kindergarten right now.
Yay.
Yeah, and then my youngest is 2, so she's still kind of in the preschool kind of phase.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that we've had to do the most advocacy for our oldest daughter
Mm-hmm.
so far. Uh, my husband and I had a conversation when she was younger. My daughter is very bright, and she's one of the kids that she loves to read. She's one of your artsy
Mm-hmm.
kids too. She loves art. She loves STEM and technology and science and all those kind of things. And so when she was in kindergarten, first grade, second grade-ish, her reading level was really, really high. She was bored in school quite a
Mm-hmm.
bit because she was a little bit ahead of her classmates and things. And so it was hard because as a practicing social worker at the time, I completely understood and knew the pressures and the overwhelm that public school teachers were experiencing.
Mm-hmm.
So my husband and I were trying to like balance this thing of advocating for and asking for her to be pushed a little bit harder and for things to be a little bit more specialized for her to meet her where she is, balancing that with understanding they had sometimes 20 plus other kids in the room that were all on different levels that they
Mm-hmm.
had to teach.
Yeah.
So that was difficult, and we had 2 teachers of hers that tried their hardest to help us, with that. And so her first grade teacher used to send her to the third grade classroom during reading time so that she can get reading with those set of students on a higher level, and then she would come back to her.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really appreciated that. But every teacher is not that way.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was the hardest decision of ours. When she was younger, my husband and I had a conversation and said, we were both products of public school systems. My husband went to a private high school mainly because of basketball, but our belief was if we do the work at home with our children, we can. Public school is great.
Mm-hmm.
Until we started to see some of the effects of how under-resourced public school is. And we made a big decision that we didn't think we would do and sent our kids to private school
Yeah.
a couple years ago. And that felt sticky, to me, because it's like, man, you want to advocate for, you really want to work towards and persevere through seeing some changes
Mm-hmm.
and improvements, but all these other things are working against you, and as that process is going, your kid is hanging in the balance, needing more.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a really hard decision for us to kind of say like, oh, we thought we were going to be able to stick through this and be able to say that we supported public school with our kids and all that, but the district that we were in went through a major budget cut, and everything that they were losing was the things that our daughter thrived in.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just kind of this message of, man, they're expecting the kids to sit in a seat all day and learn all in the same way. And it's just like, we can't do that.
Yeah.
So it's been, to answer your question that you asked a while ago, it's been a lot of sacrifice of resources and also our time to really dive in and make sure that our kids, and I won't even say that's a sacrifice, that's an investment.
Mm-hmm.
To know that they are getting what they need and are getting more than just what's taught in school.
Yeah. Yeah. So what has been your most valuable resource then in this education advocacy journey?
Mm. I would definitely say the greatest resources have been a lot of definitely where she's in school at now. The teachers and the curriculum is advanced and keeping her working towards more, as well as our son as well. So all three of my kids are in the same school,
That's awesome.
which is great.
Yeah.
The younger two, they get kind of just as advanced curriculum as the older ones do. And so just having a school system that values students on their individual levels and want to meet them there and challenge them from there has been a huge resource because it doesn't feel like a fight anymore. Your
Yeah.
kids get adequate education. It's like you're now in a team of people who all value that and have some level of resources to make that happen.
Yeah.
Um, so I would definitely say their school system has been a big resource, and just communicating with other parents. Like I have friends, and we're all wanting the best for our kids. So teaming together and carpooling to take advantage of resources in the community and workshops. And a friend of mine, our kids did a coding program together where they went through 6 weeks of coding and then got a laptop at the end of it.
Ooh.
It's so many things in the community that are available that we just don't know about.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like a team of us now who, everybody's kind of looking out for everybody and saying, hey, did you know about this? And do this together. Can you pick up the kids on this day and I'll pick them up on that day? So really banding together with like-minded individuals who all want to see the best for their kids educationally, and getting out there and getting educated on what other things are out there in the community for kids.
Cool. So where do you tend to go to identify those resources?
Man, it's been a lot of seeing stuff pop up on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my husband was actually, this was actually a couple of nights ago. I have some friends coming in town for the holiday, and we were looking for things to do just that particular week in St. Louis. And he was on, I don't know the actual website, but he had looked at, he was like, oh, did you know about this program? And it was programs for kids. And I'm oh, so just Googling little things of, things to do for kids, July in St. Louis, or
Mm-hmm.
paying attention to Eventbrite on Facebook. People around you too. So having a good a group of people who have kids, about the age of your students,
Mm-hmm.
different people are aware of and know different things. We have this kind of city county thing here too. So my friends that live in the city might know things that I don't really know about living in the county, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
So just really paying attention and always having eyes open to share resources with each other. I don't know, I have a specific place. It's just kind of
Yeah.
being open-minded and eyes open to a lot of things.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, let's see. I had a question in my head. Um, so if you could picture like the ideal relationship between, um, you know, that circle or that holistic care for a child, specifically as it relates to like the relationship between parents and schools. So if you could imagine like an ideal relationship between parents and schools, what would you say that looks like, feels like, acts like? What would you say?
Mm-hmm.
And there was no limitations. There were no financial barriers. There were no, like, if school could look like anything, what would you want it to look
Man, I think that's good. You have some great questions. That's making me think. I envision, so we know when we think about disparities that are going on, we know education is just one of those like institutional things.
like?
Education, we have housing, we have transportation, we have medical,
Mm-hmm.
access. Like there's these huge things. Complete fantasy world. I would see school systems not standing alone just as schools.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of have this vision of a school being a part of like this huge community kind of like resource place. And so the school is just a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, I just see so many things. It's more community, it's more open and welcoming to parents' feedback and ideas and parents' say in what's going on, as well as parents are more open to working more fully with teachers and administration and things. I think this whole administrative thing will look different too. Um,
Yeah.
like the school district that's running all these different schools, like I kind of see like a community district
Yeah.
where particular communities run this thing. And
Yeah.
like you have your grocery, all in this like community space. You have your libraries there, you have your resources, you have housing if families need it, you have a medical center. Like it's like this multi-block
Yes.
hub where people walk into and their full needs are met.
Oh, I just had a vision of that.
Yeah, it's the
Oh,
of school systems.
yeah.
What I hear, especially as a social worker that was doing a lot of direct work with schools, administrators would complain that parents don't show up for anything.
Mm-hmm.
Parents complain that administrators and things don't understand the fullness of everything that they have going on in life. Like, yes, we
Mm-hmm.
want parents, to be responsive to and in tune with and coupled with the educational care of their students. But if they don't know what their family is going to eat that night, if they don't know if they're going to have a place to lay their head that night, if they're dealing with their own trauma that they're just trying to emotionally regulate too, I don't know how much where that falls on that priority list when they know that kid is safe through that day. They are getting a meal throughout that day. They're getting some instruction throughout that day while I figure out all this other stuff
Mm-hmm.
to go for. And so if we can marry that and meet the needs a little bit more, that's what I would like to see.
Oh, Melissa for president or for head of Department of Education.
Department of Education, I'll take that one.
Something. Oh, it's a beautiful vision. So in that you touched a little bit on your work in schools. And so now I kind of want to transition the conversation to the work that you're doing through goal-driven counseling. I remember meeting you and just being so blown away by this idea of virtual counseling. I was just like, that's like the most brilliant idea ever. Like, how proactive is that? And so tell me a little bit about your work with goal-driven counseling. Go back as far as you want to, and your mission behind starting that business.
Yeah, I'll try and summarize the beginning part, but I've been a social worker. I worked for the government. I worked for psychiatric hospital. With my work with the government, we did a partnership with schools and other social service agencies and things. I started as a direct case manager, and I love that in our place of organization, the case managers had a little bit more of a clinical and counseling component to it. And so what I did was I helped students meet all type of goals that they had. So educationally, career-wise, if they had, medical needs, or some of them were parents, so they had specified needs, just mental health needs, whatever you can think of. We worked on those things, but then physically. So I would take students to doctor's appointments or take them to school orientation, in my car, pack up, let's go,
Mm-hmm.
And so I love that work. I really did. And few years into that, the organization I was working for wanted to implement this new leadership program for high school students. And I was promoted to supervise that program and pilot that program.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing program. I loved it. My team that I had working with me, great team. The kids that we were working with, great kids. Like, all of that was good. I did not love my administrative role. So I went away from all of that direct care with clients or students to being in meetings and being an administrator and working out, just a lot of that nitty gritty kind of stuff. And as much as I tried to keep myself entrenched in the day to day, like, my job wouldn't allow for it.
Mm-hmm.
I became unhappy really fast, and it was just like this something was missing all of a sudden. Program doing great, but I felt like something was missing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I decided, like, okay, I want to get back to direct care. But anybody in the social services world, it's a little bit kind of like teachers, where when you go back to that frontline work, the salary that comes with that is very subpar.
Mm-hmm.
So by that time, I had personally invested my own time and money into becoming clinically licensed, which is a 2-year process. I had to pay for monthly supervision, pay for tests, and all those kind of things. And I was just like, I don't think it's fair that to get back in front of clients the way that I want to, I have to settle for, at most, a $40,000 a year job.
Yeah.
And that was a good, good salary. And so I said, how can I get back to that counseling component that I really, really liked when I was working with young adults, and also make a decent living? Because somewhere, some way, we've been taught that when you work in social services, like, you have to struggle. And that's not, I don't think that's okay. When we invest the same education and time and advanced training as, does other professions. And so I said, I want to do this and live comfortable, not rich, but I want to live comfortable. But I want to also make sure that what I'm providing to other people is going to be attractive to them.
Yeah.
And so when working with young adults, that's my passion, population. I was like, what do they like? Like, what do they need? How was I able to be successful in squeezing in counseling when they was refusing to go see therapists and actual, like, therapists and counselors and things? And so I said, okay, we know the stigma is attached to it. We know it's not normalized. Mental health is not talked about. It's not embraced in a lot of the communities. And so I knew that technology was something that runs a lot of our lives now. Like, our education, business, personal life is all on this thing, here. And so I said, why not bring wellness in the same way? Why not make it attractive, more accessible, more flexible? Let me come to you. You don't have to come to a separate office. Let's transform yours to be that therapeutic space, so you can still get what it is that you need.
Mm-hmm.
And so I love that that's what's happening, that people are seeing that this is another option, that mental health is not a dirty word. It's not something that shouldn't be talked about, that we can talk about it just as easily as the other things that we talk about in life. That's why I named it Goal-Driven Counseling, because I feel like all of us, we're all goal-driven individuals. We have a focus and a vision to do something in life. And we typically can articulate that in some way. But when it comes to our mental health, when it comes to our own happiness and fulfillment in life, we don't get that.
Yeah.
We don't get the space to say, I'm struggling or I'm not doing well. We don't get the space to take the mask off and feel like it's okay to do that. So that's what I've been doing. I've partnered with a couple of organizations, and I do some social skills groups with middle schoolers now, that I did not know was going to happen, but did, and I'm embracing that fully, because that's what I was doing before I started to do my own practice. Do a lot of work. I'm wanting to increase work with college students. I have this idea where I want to do this goal-driven students college tour. Because
Mm.
if you're not in a social work or a counseling program in college, college students are not getting any information about mental health and what that looks like and what that means. But we are seeing in the research that that population is struggling the most. They are reporting the most stress than any other generation. They are at risk, highest risk for suicide. Um,
Mhm.
and their highest, the highest numbers of experiencing anxiety and depression as well. And so we have this idea that when a young adult goes away to college, like they've made it, they figured it out, they gonna, they
Yeah.
it. And yes, they've probably done well preparing educationally and academically, but there typically is not a lot of emotional and mental preparation
Yeah.
for that next phase in life. And so I'm really passionate about helping that population. But then also, like, this big shift has started to happen for me where I'm seeing people that are older than that. And so I'm like, well, my population is going to be teens and millennials, and that's what I'm going to work with. And now I'm seeing, individuals that are a little bit older than the millennial generation. And they're like, hey, I'm in transition too. Like,
Yeah.
hey, something, I'm stressed and overwhelmed as well. And so that's a piece. So with Goal Driven Counseling, I work with individuals who are experiencing education, career, and life transitions.
Mhm.
Although my specialties are anxiety, depression, and trauma, what people are really grabbing to is that transition piece. And
Mhm.
we know that when we're experiencing transitions, it's hard, it's tough. Like, we have these internal, like, polarizing emotions going on.
Mhm.
Excited about the transition, but we're anxious about the transition. We're fully anticipated and excited about it, but we're also scared to death as well.
Mhm.
And so that has actually gained a little bit more traction than I thought, where I'm now becoming like this transition therapist. And I love it because navigating transitions is like a huge piece that I love to work with people on.
Ah, that's awesome. And wow. So how has your identity, and I won't pinpoint specific identities, but how have your identities, played into your work? How have they played a role in your work?
Yeah, my identities as a Black woman, a mom,
Yeah.
like those.
Mm-hmm.
Mm, I think it helps me to be pretty well rounded because when I first started this work, I was about 22, 23.
Mm-hmm.
And so the young adults that I was working with, it wasn't uncommon where I would be working with a client and we were the same age.
Mm-hmm.
And so at first it was just like, oh, how does gonna work out? Are they gonna respect me, and are we gonna be able to, really do what it is that we need to do? And it was amazing because I was able to establish relationship and rapport with them because I understood things as a peer. Like, I had a different role with them, but I understood things as a young 20 something year old.
Mm-hmm.
So that has been helpful for me. And even now, like, as I talk about and as I work with people through transitions, I've experienced so many of them in the
Mm-hmm.
last, like, 10 years of, being a mom and persisting through college and grad school and, being a young professional, just all those, like, I've had to navigate those, being married, all
Mm-hmm.
those things as well. And so I think that I'm able to show up authentically in a lot of different areas because I understand the struggle and challenges as a young professional.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's this different subset of young professionals who are parents that I
Mm-hmm.
can completely relate to and understand how that brings a different set of challenges to navigate. But then there's a subset of those who are, married and young professionals. Hey, I got that too.
Yeah.
And so it's like I'm able to be authentic and representative of a few different kind of, like, sub groups within just this overall population that I work with. But then something that has been amazing for me, that I completely credit to this one psychologist who has this Atlanta-based practice called Therapy for Black Girls.
Mm-hmm.
Listed on her nationwide directory that she has on her website. It's therapyforblackgirls.com. And from when I opened my practice till now, I still get so many calls from young women who are saying specifically, I was looking for a Black female therapist.
Mm.
Not one in my area, like, the one that is close to here. I got to travel, 30, 40 minutes, maybe an hour to see her, or she's booked or, full.
Mm-hmm.
With telemental health and me being able to work with people throughout the state, I love that it is giving people choice.
Mm-hmm.
When people give you a list of therapists to go see, typically one of those things that you're figuring out is like, okay, who's close, who has the expertise I need, but then I also got to factor in traveling to them. And if I got to pick up my kids, I got to drop them off first, or, like so many different things that goes into that. And I love that with me, if a particular woman feels that we're a good fit and would like to work with me, there are no barriers when it comes to geographic location or anything like that. And so I realized that providing telemental health as a Black female woman was going to be so empowering for other women who have wanted to do therapy or who have had experiences with other therapists that they feel wasn't a good fit. And they want someone who was closer to or representative of themselves. And so I love that I get to feel that space or that need as well, because it's amazing to have my practice be 90% young Black women. It's so amazing. When people talk about, people don't do therapy in the Black community, a lot of them do.
Yeah.
And it's becoming more and more of a thing that we can say it's okay to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will always say, like, therapy, and specifically therapy with a Black woman, saved my life, because I tried it before and I'd almost lost faith in it.
Yeah.
Just because, and that's not in any way to slight the one that I was seeing before I found Nia Group in St. Louis, but there just wasn't, and there was also a barrier for me around trust. Like, what can I say to you? Like, is this really, am I being judged right now? Like, I don't know. I don't know. And
That's
so,
yeah.
Like, I just remember pouring my life out. My first therapy session, with the Black female therapist, and it just felt like I was home and I was talking to my sister. Like, so it was, that was really healthy, and it really helped me over a hump in my own life.
Yeah.
So in broadening your client base, have there been significant stressors or themes and stressors that exist for Black mothers that you recognized?
Yes. The thing that is the biggest thing for Black mothers is this superwoman complex, as well as always being on the hunt for balance. And I don't believe in balance. I think it's a fallacy. I think it's a myth. I think it's something that needs to go away. Our lives are too multi-layered. They're too complex to be balanced. And so I think about balance in the way that I work with individuals and clients when it comes to balance is, instead of us as moms, as Black moms, like pulling our hair out trying to think about how to give equal time and attention to everything. Let's think about aligning the things in our lives the best that we can. And so what I see as the difference with that, with balancing, it's the scale, that is always tipping in some way. And I don't think the scale ever tips even. That's why so many people in life are seeking balance.
Yeah.
But when you become clear and you gain clarity on what are the most important things to me right now? What are those priorities? What are those things that I have to be present in or working towards right now for my own personal and professional goals as a mom, but also as a career woman and all the other roles that I have. Let me gain clarity first on what all these things are.
Mm-hmm.
After I do that, let me pick a few of those that I'm going to invest my time in right now and align those so that they're all working for me towards my goal.
Mm-hmm.
So I see that a little bit different from trying to balance so many different things. It's let's align, because we got to pull it in a little bit and work one at a time. I was in a glam meeting yesterday, Girls Lead and Make Moves with Christy Jackson and Sharita Love.
Mm-hmm.
About this as well. Coach Kim Burke, she has a book called The Code to Greatness, and we were talking about the clarity chapter yesterday. And so it's so aligned with how I work with my clients. So briefly, I have this GDC, goal-driven counseling roadmap that I created. And first off, it just says that each and every one of us are the drivers of our own lives. Like from the you were born, you are planted in the driver's seat. And when we are experiencing challenges and overwhelm and stress and some of those really unsettling life experiences, it can make us feel like we are completely out of control.
Mm-hmm.
So what I tell people, or what I encourage, is that first, like, let's check your engine. Like, let's lift up that hood and really look internally to see what's going on for me. After we do that, and after we become very clear about what those feelings and emotions are, and what do I might need to do, some clarity starts to happen when we're checking that engine, then we shift gears. And so that is always met with action. We have to do something. When we're stuck and overwhelmed and on autopilot, something has to be done differently. And that might be kicking into gear, or that might be applying the brakes and slowing down, but we can gear shift in some way. After that, again, it's that alignment that I just talked about. We have to align to make sure that what we're working on at that time is in line with our goals. And then we navigate it, and so navigating is all three of those things together. In navigating, sometimes you might got to go back and check your engine again, to make sure that you shifted gears properly, or you might got to realign some things because life happens. It doesn't say that we're not responsive to some of life's challenges. And so with that piece with Black mothers, it's that that understanding and acceptance of, I don't have to be everything to everybody at all times. Dialing back on all the things that I'm committed to and saying, what's the most important? What's the most fulfilling? What's the most important for me right now? And we can pick other things up as we go along and as things shift. We might find that there are some core things that are not going to be moved. For me, career and family are not going to be moved right now. So I'm always going to make time for my kids and my husband. I'm going to continue to work on the professional goals that I've set for myself. So that means that at some times I don't have room for a lot of socialization. Love friends, we're going to stay in contact, but I might not be able to make it to those events, for a little bit of time. Or, my self-care is another thing that's solid for me. So with Black mothers, I see the superwoman complex that's saying, like, I got to do everything, and if I'm not doing everything, that means that I'm weak, or that I'm not strong, or that I'm not able to, or capable of keeping everything together the way that I'm supposed to. And seeking that balance that we don't really get.
Yeah. Wow. So you got 30 seconds to just to give a message to Black mothers. Just like a 30-second, I don't know if that's a lot of time or not enough time. Hold on, I'm gonna get my timer.
Okay.
Here we go. A 30-second message to Black mothers saying, where's the seconds? Saying whatever you want. I'll give you 10 seconds to think.
You tell me when to go.
All right, and go.
I want to say to Black mothers that you are magic. Your just being and existence and those little people that you created are phenomenal beings. And in order for your magic to continue to sparkle and to shine, you have to take care of you first. That's mind, body, and soul. Self care is a must. And so I want to encourage all moms to know that you are fully capable of saying no when you need to and taking the wheel of your life.
Yes. Thank you. I'm so glad we got to spend this time. I received that message entirely.
It's always so good talking to you.
Likewise.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna shoot you a text about the next thing we can work on together.
All right, that might be if I don't reach out to you first.
Yeah. Either way, we're gonna be talking real soon.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me, and just this time you hit me with a lot of questions that made me think quickly and on the spot, but really appreciate it. And I just love all that you are doing, like in every space, Mama to Mama, Crooked Room, just being the beautiful Jackie that you are, like just everything. You're so dope to me.
Thank you. Likewise. All right, Boo. I love you, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. See ya.
All right. Bye.